Okay, so I thought it was time I gave you a new update on how my treatment and everything is going. And today is Friday, the 1st of April, 2022. And this isn't a joke, by the way. I think if anybody saw my video about injecting myself, you would know that I was having a change of chemotherapy regime, and I changed from the horrible red stuff, which makes your hair fall out, plus another one which I can't remember, chemo brain, to docetaxel and Herceptin, or alternatively known as trastuzumab, I believe. Neither of which make my hair fall out. So as of around about my birthday, which is towards the end of February, I think, I think my hair has actually started growing. I have yet to be fully convinced, but rather than having more or less nothing on my head, there seems to be a faint covering of fuzz. So hopefully that's all going in the right direction. So the Herceptin, or trastuzumab, is an injection in my thigh, and I've had 3 of those so far. And as of next Tuesday, which is round about the 5th of April, I shall be starting my 18 rounds of these injections, which is one every 3 weeks for 54 weeks. So that's going to take me up to April, middle of April, I think, next year. As far as I'm aware, I don't get any side effects from that, but any side effects I do get at the moment, I don't know whether it's the docetaxel or whether it's the Herceptin. So, excuse me, that will be interesting to see how that one pans out. Docetaxel is not a nice thing to have. That goes in intravenously. It's affected by light, so when you have it intravenously, it comes covered in a green bag. And because of the side effects and the extent of how long they lasted on my second round, I actually had the dose reduced by 25% for my last one. And I think it's better, but I can't actually tell, which I know is mad. So for the first one of the docetaxel, I had it on the Wednesday. Everything was fine Thursday, Friday, and for most of the Saturday. But by Saturday night, I was in so much pain in my legs. It's how I imagine restless leg syndrome to be. It's not being able to relax your legs. It's not being able to get them in a comfortable position. It's that constant need to move. So I can now sympathise with my father, who had restless leg syndrome, and how in the middle of the night he'd get up and walk around the house, and even sometimes he would be hitting his legs because the pain was so bad. And that Saturday night, I was sat on the edge of my bed in tears. I was in so much pain, didn't know what to do with myself. The Sunday wasn't much better, but it was okay. It was manageable. But on the Monday, I took a day off work, and I ended up having to phone the nurses at the oncology centre to have a chat with someone there. And the woman who I spoke to asked me what pain meds I had, and I didn't really have anything. I mean, cocodamol would be my go-to choice in that sort of situation, but I knew I only had 2 tablets left. And then I suddenly realised that I had codeine phosphate from my surgery, which I'd never used. So I had a whole packet of codeine phosphate. And the nurse suggested that for the next round, the second round, I actually start taking them just twice a day, morning and night on the Thursday and the Friday. And then as I needed to for the rest of the next 4 or 5 days. And that seemed to work fine. It hasn't eradicated it completely, but it certainly made it more manageable. The one thing that has been lingering is peripheral neuropathy, and that's sort of like a combination of pain and numbness in my fingers, my feet and my toes. My fingers are almost back to normal now. I actually did some crochet the other day, which was quite nice, but I'm still not able to do sewing because, well, I am doing sewing, but my skin is so dry and the feeling in my fingers is not quite right, so I keep dropping the needle, which, while I'm actually sewing and it's attached to the material, is fine, but if it's not attached to the material, then the needle can go anywhere. So I have to be really careful while I'm doing that. So I reckon probably in another week my fingers should be more or less back to normal, and I think probably my feet and my toes in particular, it might take another 2 weeks. If it takes more than 2 weeks, then I shall be on the phone to the consultant to find out how long it's likely to take, and if there's anything we can do to hurry it along. The only other thing that the docetaxel has, the way it's affected me, is with fatigue, and I would get tired with the other two, but usually at the end of the 3 weeks, the weekend before I would have my next chemo, I was beginning to feel more energetic and less wanting to spontaneously fall asleep. But with the docetaxel, it hasn't really done that. It's been a constant level of fatigue all the way through. And this is the weekend before I would have had my next one had I been continuing with chemotherapy. And usually the weekend before my next cycle, I was more or less back to the energy level that I was before. But with this, I'm not. Although it hasn't helped that for the last fortnight I've been battling with a cold as well. And it's been a cold right in the middle of my face. So my sinuses have all been bunged up and I haven't been sleeping well at night as a result of that, which of course hasn't helped. But that is now getting better. I didn't sleep very well last night, but I slept quite well the night before. So, you know, it's all swings and roundabouts really. So, yeah, I think my hair is beginning to grow back. If it definitely is, I'll give you all an update, but at the moment I'm not convinced. So we'll just see how that goes. So the next steps are radiotherapy, and on Wednesday this last week, which was the 30th of March, I went for a CT scan. And for anybody who's never had one of those, the machine sounds like a washing machine on a fairly quiet spin cycle. And the CT scan is needed so that the radiation can be pinpointed to where it needs to go. And to do that, they actually give you tattoos. Having said that, they're tiny little dots that are less than 2 millimeters in diameter. And apart from the one in the middle of my chest, you wouldn't realize what they are, except that they're blue. Why they chose blue, I don't know. I'm sure in my case, red would have been much better because I have some little red spots on my body in that area, and it wouldn't have noticed quite so much as blue ones. But hey ho, there we go. I'm not planning on getting any more tattoos at this time. Who can say, I might change my mind at some point in the future. But that took about half an hour, 45 minutes, something like that. And that was in the oncology centre. I think I probably visited every floor in there now, except for the staff floor, which I think is floor 3. So yeah, that's all good. So the radiotherapy is just 5 days, and that'll be over Easter weekend. So the first one will be on the Wednesday before Easter, then Thursday, then one on Good Friday, one on Easter Monday, and then one on the Tuesday. So that then will be the major part of my treatment over. It's just continuing with the Herceptin or the trastuzumab injections in my thigh every 3 weeks for 18 cycles. As I say, that's 54 weeks, so that takes us into about the middle of April next year. That's about it, really. I mean, other than it's turning cold at the end of this week, which is not nice because I find it difficult to maintain my body heat. Apart from anything else, I've been fairly sedentary, which doesn't help. But even when the heating's on, my hands will go cold, or my feet will go cold, or I'll need to go and put another layer on, and I know that the central heating is up to temperature, so I'm not convinced that it's just because I'm being sedentary. I think it's more to do with the fact that the chemicals I've got in my body are not helping. They're not allowing my body to function in the way it would normally. And I'm hoping that over the next few weeks, now that I've finished chemo, that stuff will get out of my body. I'm assuming it will metabolize out at some point. I'm not quite sure how long it takes. And also, of course, we're now moving into springtime, keeping my fingers crossed we're not going to have snow, which we can do in April. And the temperature will start increasing again outside. So that will mean I don't hopefully feel the cold quite so much on the inside. I can't fault at all the staff anywhere, whether it's been at Southmead Hospital in relation to the surgery and follow up and everything else as well, or whether it's the staff at oncology centre. The one thing I would say about the oncology centre is that they haven't been very good with the communication. And just one of a point, just to raise a point, that I had a letter earlier this week which I thought was going to be my dates and times and places for my Herceptin jabs, and theoretically it was, but it didn't have my name on it. It had somebody else's name on it. So I don't know whether it was mine with somebody else's name or whether it was somebody else's complete timetable. I don't know. So I had to phone up and let them know about that. And although they've sent me through a piece of paper with dates and times and locations on it, it's not the full schedule. So it goes through to November, and I know I should be having injections until April next year. So at some point I'm going to have to ask them for an updated list, or ask them if they can actually send the letter through. And there's been various things like that I've had to actually physically ask for the timetable. Also the radiotherapy one I asked for as well. They said, well, haven't you had it through the post? I said no, and they printed it out for me, which was fine. But I don't feel that I should have had to have asked for that. I think they should have had their act together and got that out to me at least a couple of weeks before I had my CT scan. But, apart from that, I mean, everybody's been lovely. Any question I've asked, they've answered. Any potential problem I've had, they've helped me sort it out and stuff like that. So it's been fine. And I don't really have much more to say now. So if you've got any questions, then let me know. Drop me a comment, or if you know my email or anything else, just drop me a message and ask me whatever questions you want. This is my favourite head covering, which is actually an update. The pattern I've got is more for a summer weight one, and I needed a winter weight one. So I've used the same pattern. I've just used slightly different stitches, which has made it a much denser fabric, and it's also made out of wool rather than acrylic yarn. So it makes it quite nice and warm. And I've got a little red one underneath there as well, just so that any hair that does come out doesn't get caught in the wool. I know how difficult that can be to get out. So Just as an idea of my energy levels, I can't remember the last time I changed my bed. I did it yesterday. I was so disgusted with myself that I thought I should change it. And one of the pieces of advice that I was given was that change your bed every week. And I was thinking, yeah, fat chance, just don't have the energy to do that. And nobody's been here really to offer me help to change my bed either. So it's been disgusting, but it's all nice and clean now. And but I'm not sleeping well at the moment, so it really makes little difference. I can turn my light out, say at midnight, and I'll sleep for an hour and a half, and then I might go back to sleep again for an hour and a half, and then I might go back to sleep again, but I might not, in which case I might get YouTube out because that just sends me to sleep quite easily. But I've also found these last couple of weeks when I haven't been able to breathe very well that being slightly inclined in bed so that I can breathe a bit more easily has helped. But there's nothing like YouTube to send me to sleep, especially if I'm watching one of these Korean restaurants or bakeries or something where it just goes on and on and on for 2.5 hours, and at some point I fall asleep, and then either the video's finished or else I wake up again and it's halfway through or 3/4 of the way through, and it's at which point I just turn it off and hopefully go back to sleep again. But this morning I was awake at 4:30 ish. Actually watched videos on Facebook for a couple of hours and then slept until 8:30. So that was okay. But I'm going back to work 5 days a week as of next Monday. Probably 2 days in the office, which will have to be Thursday and Friday next week because I've got a blood test on Monday, and I've got to find my way to Concord Medical Centre in North Bristol on Tuesday for my Herceptin jab. It's such a palaver having to go somewhere like that when the injection takes 10 minutes. It's going to take me longer to get there and back than it is for the actual injection. And then the second one, I've got to go to South Bristol Community Hospital. And at least I know where that is, whereas I don't know where the North Bristol, the Concord Medical Centre is. But after that, I think all the other injections are going to be at the oncology centre. So that's going to be better. I can walk there. And also, if I need to, I can take time out from work. I can do it in my lunch break, even if that might be at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So there's been a little bit of frustration. There's been a little bit of irritation. There's been a bit of anxiety, I suppose. But generally, everything has run fairly smoothly for me. And as I keep saying, I've been so blessed with a lack of side effects that to a certain extent the whole process has been a doddle. I just had that weekend when I was in so much pain in my legs. I think that's been the worst of it, to be honest, other than the fatigue, and the fatigue can be really difficult, especially if I'm working from home. I sit down on a sofa with the TV on and have my lunch, and then I shall just fall asleep for an hour after lunch, and I seem to have no control over it. It's really weird, but it's one of those things, and hopefully that should resolve itself over the next few months. So yes, going back to work 5 days a week as of next week is going to be interesting. From my point of view, it gives it continuity. What I found with only working 4 days, whether it was not working a Monday or not working a Friday makes little difference, is that despite the fact people know I was only working 4 days, they seem to forget which day I wasn't working. So they would send me perhaps an email really late on a Thursday afternoon, and I'd have to respond back saying, I'm really sorry, I can't respond to this until next week. And I will find that next week they've they've gone to somebody else to get the job done, or whatever it was that they were wanting me to do, which is a little bit frustrating. So going back to working 5 days a week means that hopefully that won't be happening quite so much. So I'm planning on being in the office 2 days a week, and I'm thinking Monday and Tuesday, but I think next week it'll have to be Thursday and Friday, because, as I say, Monday I've got a blood test that I need to get done, and Tuesday I've got to go up to North Bristol for my injection. So it'll probably be Thursday and Friday, and I'm going to do 2 days together because I don't really want to be taking my computer backwards and forwards from work. So I'll take it in on the first day, say Thursday this week, and then bring it back on the Friday, rather than perhaps go into the office on Tuesday, take my computer in, and then have to bring it home to work from home on Wednesday, and then take it back into work on Thursday to work in the office on Thursday. So I don't really want to do that at this point, because I find walking into the office is hard enough. I don't really want to be carrying any more than I absolutely have to. Anyway, I've digressed. I'm not going to say any more for now. As I say, if you've got any questions, then just let me know, and I'll give another update after radiotherapy to let you know how I got on with that. So I shall speak to you all soon. Bye.